Inside San Quentin, what happens when you owe money? He had 3 days to come up with $200. On day 4, they found him in the showers. What he owed wasn't drugs, wasn't protection. It was a bag of coffee. In America's oldest prison, money doesn't work the way you think. There's no cash, no cards, no transfers, but debt. Debt is everywhere, and the system that collects it is more dangerous than any gang. By the end of this, you'll understand why a $20 debt can cost you your life, and why some guards look the other way. San Quentin sits on the edge of the San Francisco Bay, 4,300 men, 5 cell blocks. 1 economy. It's not just old, it's medieval. Cells built for 1 man now hold 2, sometimes 3 at a place this crowded. Everything has value: ramen noodles, stamps, batteries, and every transaction gets written down. But here's what most people don't know. The economy inside isn't run by money, but it's run by fear. You can't carry cash in San Quentin. It's contraband. Inmates get money deposited to their account. $25, $50, maybe $100 if they're lucky. Once a week, they can order from commissary. Instant coffee, $4. Mackerel, $2.50. Honey bun, $1.20. But if your account is empty, you borrow. And that's when the clock starts. The unofficial banks of San Quentin operate on one principle. Interest is 100%. Always. Borrow a $5 bag of coffee on Monday. You owe $10 by Friday. Miss that deadline? Interest doubles again. Within a month, $5 becomes $160, and there's no bankruptcy in prison. The collection system is ruthless. First, they take your property, shoes, radio, blanket. Then, they take your safety. You can check in with the guards, request protective custody, but that's a scarlet letter. You'll never live it down in any prison. Or you stay, and you pay another way. Here's the part the state doesn't talk about. Prison staff know the economy exists. They see the exchanges, the nods, the handoffs. The 2019 investigation found that correctional officers often ignore underground economies because it keeps order. Think about that. The violence isn't chaos, it's controlled, predictable, and as long as it stays inside, the system allows it. Let's call him Marcus. He wasn't a killer. Wasn't even violent. Marcus got 5 years for check fraud. White-collar crime. First offense. He thought San Quentin would be like the movies. He was wrong. When Marcus arrived, he had $40 in his account. His family promised more. But the deposit took weeks. By week 2, he was out of toothpaste. Out of soap. That's when he met the banker. What happened next would trap him for 2 years. In San Quentin, the bankers aren't men in suits, they're shot callers. Lifers. Men with nothing to lose and everything to control. Marcus borrowed $15 worth of goods. Noodles. Deodorant. He promised to pay back $30 when his family's deposit came through, but the deposit never came. And this is where the system breaks people. By week 5, Marcus owed more than his entire commissary limit. The shot caller gave him options. Option 1, move drugs across the yard. Get caught, add 5 years to your sentence. Option 2, assault another inmate on command. Same risk. Same time added. Option 3, he didn't want to think about. Marcus did something most men don't. He went to the chapel. Found a counselor. Told the truth. The counselor contacted his family directly. 3 days later, the money hit his account. He paid the debt. All of it. But the damage was done. Marcus became a target. Paying off a debt that quickly meant one thing. He had outside help. Money. Resources. And in San Quentin, that makes you valuable. For the next 18 months, Marcus was pressured. Threatened. Isolated. He spent most of his sentence in protective custody. When he walked out, he'd served every day of his 5 years. He never borrowed again. Now here's the part that changes everything. Because the debt system? It's not just tolerated, it's essential. In 2022, California prisons made $73 million from commissary sales. San Quentin alone generated over $4 million. That money funds programs, pays staff overtime, offsets costs. But here's the catch. Prisoners make between 30 cents and $1 per hour to afford a week's commissary. They'd need to work 40 hours. But most jobs are limited to 10 or 15 hours. The math, it's not possible. The system creates the need to borrow, and then punishes them for borrowing. Former correctional officers have admitted it on record. Quote, "We know who the bankers are. We know who collects. But if we shut it down, the whole place explodes." Because when prisoners have no system of trade, they create chaos instead. The underground economy is a pressure valve, and the state prefers it to the alternative. Let that sink in. Debt isn't a bug. It's a feature, but prisoners aren't the only ones trapped. Families on the outside become part of the system. They send money. Every week. Every month. Not because they want to. Because they're terrified of what happens if they don't. Phone calls cost 21 cents per minute. A 15-minute call is $3. Families go into debt to keep their sons, fathers, brothers alive. Some take payday loans. Max out credit cards. The system doesn't just trap inmates. It traps everyone who loves them. Remember Marcus? The man who borrowed $15? He got out. But his mother didn't. She died 6 months after his release. The stress, the debt, the fear, it never left her. Not every man falls into the cycle. Some arrive with resources. Family money. Support systems. They never need to borrow. But they're the minority. The rest learn to survive on pennies or they learn to disappear. In San Quentin, there's a group called the Invisibles. Men who refuse to engage. Don't borrow. Don't lend. Don't trade. They eat only state meals. Soap from the dispensary. Nothing extra. It's a miserable existence. But it's safe, unless the system decides you're useful, and that's when things get darker. Sometimes, you don't borrow. It's placed on you. A bag of chips appears on your bunk. A candy bar. A magazine, you didn't ask for it. But now you owe. This is called phishing. It's a trap. If you refuse it, you've disrespected the sender. If you accept it, you're in debt. There's no winning. The invisibles don't stay invisible forever. Most fold within 18 months, because the system is designed that way. In 2021, California passed prison reform legislation. The goal? Reduce commissary prices. Increase inmate wages. It sounded good. But inside San Quentin? Almost nothing changed. Prices dropped by an average of 4%. For cents on the dollar. Wages increased by 0. Because wage increases were left to individual facility discretion. San Quentin opted out. The debt system continues. The violence continues. And the families keep sending money. So what's the answer? That's the worst part. There isn't one. You can't eliminate the economy. Humans trade. It's instinct. You can't pay prisoners a living wage. The public won't fund it. You can't lower commissary prices to 0. The prisons need the revenue. And you can't crack down on the violence, because that's what's keeping the peace. It's a loop with no exit. The system needs the debt to survive. In 2023, a leaked internal memo from the California Department of Corrections revealed something stunning. They'd run simulations. What would happen if they eliminated underground trade? The model predicted a 38% increase in violent incidents within 90 days. Medical costs would triple. Riots would become weekly. The memo concluded with a single recommendation. Quote, maintain current oversight levels. Do not intervene unless violence escalates beyond facility control. Let me say that again. The state knows. And chooses to do nothing. San Quentin isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. The debt isn't a crime. It's a tool. A way to manage 4,000 men with 800 guards. And the cost? It's paid by the men inside, and the families who love them. The system doesn't need reform. It needs exposure. As of today, January 2026, San Quentin houses 3,400 men. 700 are serving life sentences. 184 are on death row. And nearly all of them owe someone something. This isn't just a San Quentin problem. It's every prison. Pelican Bay, Rikers, Angola, Folsom. They all run on the same system. And you need to see it. If you want to understand what happens when the debt can't be paid, watch what happens in Pelican Bay. Where protection costs more than money. It costs everything.